Here's lesson 2 of 45 lessons at me being 45 years young. The cost of broken promises, the story of Debbie, and the power of our power promises that we make to ourselves. My desire is for you to believe in yourself again. Trust yourself. That's why I'm sharing this particular lesson. Really? A story. The lesson is baked into a story that when you hear it, if it doesn't touch your heart, then you probably don't even have one. I haven't really shared this publicly. I have in my coaching group though. Either way, it's a personal story that has changed the perspective of how I choose to show up in my career. As a matter of fact, this experience took me from working in the health clubs as a job into a career. But even more importantly, this story exemplifies an individual characteristic that is so critical to possess, and if it doesn't, transformation won't occur. So long story short, short story long, it's actually gonna be a longer one. Back in 2007, November 30th to be exact, I know the date because that's how much of an impact it made on me. I was the personal training director of a very well-known health club chain. And it was the last day of the month where we would have these big rallies to close out the month. You know, enroll new members into the club and encourage them to enroll into a personal training program. And my responsibility was to invite new members into the club for a complimentary training session. More of an assessment. You're probably familiar with those if you ever joined a club before. I remember we were $8,000 behind from our company budget, our expectations for that particular club. And I had the opportunity to schedule a young lady for an appointment. Her name was Debbie, and I knew nothing about her leading into my confirmation call with her that morning before her appointment. What I can tell you is that she was really hesitant on the phone, so nervous to come in. She made it a point to tell me that the reason she scheduled her appointment in the early afternoon was because it was the slow time of the gym, which it always was. It was 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can't recall, I don't know which one, but it definitely stuck out to me. But I could sense her insecurities and hesitancy in her voice on the phone. Again, long story short, I built rapport with her over the phone, and she showed up. When she arrived, we sat down in my office and I had her fill out a PARQ form. It's a physical activity readiness questionnaire, going over her history, her goals, her objective metrics. Now, here's what else I'll tell you. Debbie was the same age as I was at the time, 30. I was 30 years young at the time. My 30 and her 30 looked much different. Not from judgment, but just from observation. She was 5'4", she weighed 348 pounds, and she had 2 kids. She was on several medications and just looked tired. Now you can understand her reluctancy in being around people in the gym, but I saw it all the time. This was my responsibility to get her out of that place, provided she was ready to make change. So without judgment, but more out of curiosity, I asked more questions before I took her out to the gym floor for her assessment. I'd always go over the PARQ form in my head ahead of time so that I was best prepared to help uncover any blind spots. I had taken her out to the treadmill, as I often did with a new potential client, and evaluated her cardio conditioning. And needless to say, she didn't last more than a few minutes at a brisk walk. Then we attempted some light dumbbell work, and then again she really fatigued quickly, profusely sweating and extremely out of breath. We went out to the floor for no longer than 15 minutes. It was relatively short. She knew what kind of conditioning she was in. After her assessment, we went back into the office to discuss our observations together. When I sat back down with Debbie, again, I asked her a few questions about our experience. Then I flipped over the PARQ form and asked a question. There's a question on there that says, out of scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about starting a workout program? And I said to Debbie, you circled a 6. Now, knowing that, I'm surprised you even showed up for this appointment. Help me understand this. She got real emotional and she said, well, it's either this or it's getting a gastric bypass, a cosmetic weight loss surgery. Right there, I knew my experience with Debbie was more than just an opportunity to enroll a new training client. This was an opportunity to save a life. I explained to her that what got her to be 200 pounds overweight and feeling the way she was feeling was her poor eating habits, the lack of activity, her not making sleep a priority, and of course, her overall quality of life. and by making the decision to opt into a $10,000 procedure. What she wouldn't learn is how to correct her poor eating habits. She wouldn't learn how to effectively get her body active or moving for her, or support better quality sleep. A weight loss surgery will not modify any lifestyle changes. And she got it, but she wasn't sold yet. And it wasn't until this moment in the conversation that both of our lives had changed. I don't know what possessed me to say this or even ask this, because it never crossed my mind before. But I did have a solid rapport with her at this point. We were laughing, getting emotional, all types of mixed emotions involved. I even get emotional thinking about this. I looked at her dead in the eyes and said, when you get out of the shower, Debbie, and you're about to put your towel on, and you're staring at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? This is where she started getting really emotional, started sobbing uncontrollably. This gets me every time. She said, I see 200 pounds of unwanted, painful body weight, 200 pounds of obesity that won't allow me to watch my kids grow up. It's gonna kill me. The pain was deep. My reply was swift though. Again, I never said this before, never even thought about it. I looked right at Debbie and I said, I don't see 200 pounds of body weight that you're carrying. I see 200 pounds of broken promises to yourself. Bam! Smacked her right between the eyes. I'm getting the goosebumps just thinking about this. That was it. That's the statement that changed everything. Debbie realized it. Debbie realized that in this moment, she wasn't taking full responsibility of her condition, that she was a promise breaker to herself for years. All the times that she told herself that she was going to do that thing to get healthier, and she never did it, accumulating up to 200 pounds. She put her credit card down on the spot and signed up for the biggest package we had. It was the best decision that she ever made. She released almost 100 pounds with us in the year ahead. It's quite a remarkable story. Where do you relate yourself in this story? When you look at the conditions of your life right now, you have to ask yourself, how did I get here? Am I a promise breaker or am I a promise keeper? Where do you make promises to yourself and you break those promises? What's it costing you to continue living out of integrity? I trust this story, from my experience with Debbie, inspires you to be more personally integral in your own life. Everything starts on the inside. Hence, transform your life from the inside out.